Okay, there we go. And this is our Stop My Crisis, Beyond My Crisis team meeting with Gaga here. Okay. So this is really more for Vanessa's benefit than I think for us. But so on our Google Docs, I've got shared a document that says Stop My Crisis, Beyond My Crisis, Workflow and Rebranding. And these are the people that were here. We were recording it for Vanessa. A couple of points that Vivian and I came up with is the workflow. So naming standards, where we put files, what happens if we put files up on YouTube versus on the drive. And I know that you guys know that there's this big hard drive over there.
The tower.
Right? There's a few hard drives in it. They're formatted for Mac. So the challenge is the people that don't have Macs can't direct plug. And if you direct plug and you don't see anything, and you say, oh, that's kind of weird, let me format this, you wipe our drive out. And this is really like a critical backup. So if you use it and you take, should I be on this? Okay. So if you, sorry, are you okay with that?
Okay.
So if you use it, that big drive, and I don't mind anyone using it, you got to use it super responsibly. Like, don't delete files by accident or on purpose. And if you do, you got to let me know immediately so I can kind of recover it. And we're not always backing up the backups as regularly as we should. So that's the master. And it's called Crisis Master right here. Right? So that's the drive. If you plug it into your Macintosh and through the USB port, you've seen it before. We've been working on editing with Premiere, iMovie, a little Final Cut Pro. Anything else that we've done? No. I'm okay with that, but it creates a challenge for what if someone has to re-edit it? And we've had a lot of times when we had to re-edit it. Someone starts a project. I'm not a video editor by any stretch of the imagination. You guys, all of you, are better than me at doing this. But I can throw in titles and fix things up. I have iMovie. I don't have Premiere. I don't have Final Cut Pro. So when you did that iMovie thing, I was able to kind of make a few corrections and get it going. So I just don't have all of the files from the drive that you guys are working from to even do the edits. If I have a final, I can't get back to editing, as you know. Like those folders, like in iMovie, in your library movies folder, if that's not backed up on this drive, there's no one can edit it. It's literally like on your computer and you're out of the office and we can't do anything. Same thing with Premiere and Final Cut Pro. I don't know where Premiere stores the files, and like if you're using Premiere and you edit on your computer, have you ever needed to edit the same file in Premiere?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, how would you do that? Okay, so we need to know, and if you can take notes, like, actually, you know what?
I had trouble switching from iMovie to Final Cut Pro because Vanessa used iMovie and she'd recorded all that extra interview stuff, but we had to get it onto my computer, and that took way longer than it should.
Right.
So.
And we're going to talk about that too, because hey, Vivian, can you get on your computer, or Allison, and just add notes as we talk about things? You should have it shared.
It's also for Sarah to have it.
And Sarah, yes.
This is on the drive.
Right.
Well, that's why you're also recording this for Sarah.
So, yes, and for Sarah too. So if you go to drive.google.com, you'll get to the Google Drive. We have our giant folder. What's it called? SMC. It's called.
But the problem is some people.
It's called SMC TV Google Drive, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that as well. Workflow with that, because it has gotten out of hand. I see 3 nods and a smile. Okay.
Well, here's the deal. Also, when I look at it from my perspective, I don't remember who's putting what where. I think a lot of it's Vanessa, but it's also going into another folder.
Right. So we're going to go through that, but first I mean, the most important job you guys have is doing the video and making sure that's going to work. And I just want to talk about quality, and we're going to have a little bit of research that we have to do to kind of like make sure we know where things have to go and get backed up.
Where's
So-
this checklist?
So this checklist is, if you go into Google Drive
Yeah.
and you scroll all the way through somewhere that says Documents, and then you'll see Meeting Notes 8/23/2017. Okay, so if you look on Google Drive,
Yeah.
Documents,
Okay.
and you see Meeting Notes 8/23.
Okay.
Do that here, there. Okay, good. And everyone can review this too, so you all have access to this in case, you know, someone forgets like me, what we have to do. So I need to know what we need to back up if we're working in Final Cut Pro or Premiere.
Well, usually after I finish editing, I'll just like export it, and then it'll be a .mov file which anyone can use.
Yeah.
That's not editing program specific.
Right, that's the final.
Yeah.
But we can't double click in the title area and fix a typo correction
Yeah.
in the lower thirds. Or say there's a little glitch. Say the audio flow through from our intro isn't long enough, you know, that
Yeah.
rock
yeah.
music stuff that starts,
Mhm.
and maybe it needs to be ducked more, you know, ramped down. Maybe the volume's too loud when Vivian starts doing her intro.
In pretty much, you can do it in iMovie too, but you can like select a certain section of the audio to like, so it's like
Yeah,
editable,
but once you give a movie file, all those audio channels are merged.
yeah, but
And
so,
they can't be independently lower. I'm giving you examples
Yeah,
of
yeah,
why
yeah,
we
yeah,
need the
yeah.
original file so we can edit it. Because we can't edit properly with the .movie file. We can't do what we need to do.
Well, that's the problem I came up against, but I couldn't solve it either. Like I had to put it into like movie mode in order to transfer it to my computer to use it on Final Cut Pro.
So you have to transfer it to movie mode?
.mov.
.mov, okay. The
Basically,
file
like,
format,
basically, we took all this stuff from our computer. It was all just clips.
right?
We couldn't drag it into I have several hard drives, and I couldn't bring them into the hard drive. It just didn't work. So the only way to get it to transfer to my hard drive was to turn it into a movie. Like I put it into we put it on our computer onto iMovie, connected it all together, then threw it in. And now I'm going through the footage as is.
Okay, so we have another subtopic in this is,
I can't even take notes. Everything's
so we haven't even gotten to file naming
Focus on.
standards.
It's okay.
no.
Yeah, so we haven't even gotten to file naming standards yet.
Okay.
We're dealing with video footage, and this comes in different file formats, right? Sometimes it's an MP4, sometimes it's a .mov,
so
sometimes it's ProRes. It could be, we could get an AVI clip.
You want to say something?
Yes.
Oh, I was just gonna say like, the most, I think like the standard is MOV. So if you can like change the export setting instead of like exporting it to MP4, like that might be the, I don't know, maybe that's the Premiere like like what it's stuck on, but you can change that
Change that from
from
MP4
to
to
MOV,
MOV.
and which is the standard.
Now, for me, I never have really a problem working with MP4 or MOV or even AVI.
As long as you're exporting it to H.264, which is it's like
Right.
a compression.
So rate.h.264 is the compression that we want to be
Yes.
selecting when we make the MP4 or MOV files.
Yeah. So basically, what you
Just
can
make sure she's able to get this. You guys
Yeah.
talking pretty quickly.
yeah, I was,
64?
yeah.
Yeah, that's the compression for video.
Basically what we can do is we can go around to all like everyone's computer and just standardize everything.
So,
set it to MOV, set it to H.264.
right, so that's what we're going to agree on. Do you know if there's any quality differential between .mov and
MP4.
MP4?
MOV usually has a higher quality, and with H.264 you can't do that in MP4. So you'll get a smaller video but a higher quality video than MP4.
Smaller video, but and higher quality.
Yeah, so if it's MOV and H.264, then you'll get a better
Now,
video.
in the studio at Princeton, and I've been on them about so many different things, and little by little they're making improvements. But and I invite you guys to come sometime. If you guys want to come to the studio and watch us shoot and see the interaction, even participate, even learn how to use the switcher, to understand this process and kind of the limitations that we're faced with, I'll give you a few of the limitations. The ProRes SSD recorder, the 3 cameras, so we're set up with 3 cameras, 2 on the side and 1 on the front. Right now it's only recording in 1080i, which is not 1080p. 1080p is progressive mode. It's twice the resolution of 1080i. 1080i is equivalent to 720p. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you guys shooting at? Like what cameras?
They shoot on these like conference 1080p PTZ cameras,
Okay.
pan tilt zoom.
Don't look at me. You're speaking Japanese to me, so I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'm here.
No, it's actually
Right.
Greek.
Yeah, it is really.
No,
good.
but you'll hear some of the terminology again,
They understand.
and
They
you
went
know
to
what?
school for
I'm not
this.
gonna explain
Don't.
that part to you,
Don't.
but I can offline. But if you guys don't understand anything that I'm saying, then ask, because you're involved with the video editing, and I think
And
no
you went
one's.
to school for it.
But doesn't mean they know what even a PTZ camera is
I
necessarily.
learned that.
Okay. So they're not the best quality cameras. They go out of focus. I've scolded my people that do the switching there to manually focus and not use the autofocus.
Yeah.
But there are going to be times when you may see some video footage that looks really blurry. We have to be kind of creative because they're live switched. We don't have 3 separate files for each camera that we can choose
Yeah.
and pick for editing. The reason why Princeton TV does this is so they can
Files.
streamline it, get it done fast, and kind of like it's not a TV studio like ABC
Mhm.
or mainstream where they are really going to spend hours and hours doing video editing. Literally, they want to do like almost like live titling and editing. They don't want to spend more than the amount of time that the 28 minutes. They want to finish their edit in less than 28 minutes.
So wait,
So-
do you get to like adjust the cameras before you get there?
I
or-
do adjust the
Okay.
cameras, and if you're seeing angles that are off, like if people put their hand in front of someone's face, and I try to like look at that, let me know how we can improve it. You can even maybe even here at the end of this, Allison, can you write something like things to improve during live shooting at the bottom somewhere, and then if you guys can just throw in your suggestions based on the shots that you're seeing, like look, it's out of focus, the camera angle's wrong, it's too high, maybe the lighting, you see ghosting here, maybe there's a lot of what do you call that,
Model.
turkey gobble stuff going on because of the angle of the camera. Really, the angles will change the way we look, and we want to make this look as professional as we can within the context of the
Yeah.
equipment that we have, the time constraints that we have, I mean, the budget that we have, and we run on fumes, as you know. So, and we're working on improving that, and part of the meeting is about rebranding. So, any suggestions on camera quality, lighting, switching, throw it in at the end of this workflow
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
document.
Question for the 3 of them. You guys are going to senior year, right?
Yeah.
So you're all going to CCM?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So you might have, if you availability during the course of the day, because you're not in CCM every single day, right?
Yeah.
So you might have opportunities to get to the studio, because I understand junior year you're in school, normal,
Mhm.
but CCM is Community College of Morris.
Mm-hmm. I know the last year they go. It's great.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I'm verifying that they might have more availability during the school year this year because of CCM. So, did you guys already find out your schedules for this
Yeah.
upcoming?
Yeah.
Can you share that with us so that way when we schedule, we could try to include you guys
Mhm.
whenever
Sure.
possible.
Yeah.
I'll take that into account for scheduling at the studio, and ask you first if you can want to come.
I mean, is that something
I-
you guys would
I-
like to do?
I
Yeah.
can testify
we-
that it's definitely an interesting experience.
CCM?
Interesting.
No, it's filming.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
I put a different hat. I'm a different person in the studio.
We all wear many different hats at the studio.
And I'm a totally different person in the studio.
So I've been doing the switching when we do Stop My Crisis. It's
Yeah.
really hard for me to do it with Beyond My Crisis,
Yeah.
to run to my
It's just
chair
sitting.
and switch at the same time. So we have someone else do it,
Mm.
and she's not happy with it.
It's
I
not.
should
But-
try.
and-
You really need to do the switching.
And,
Allison.
Al,
I can
and
try.
No, you really could learn. It's not easy, but
and
you
I'm not a
definitely have
professional at switching, but have a decent eye at kind of seeing how the conversation should
Yeah.
go.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're doing any of our video editing, when we're doing any of our shooting, when we're doing any of the audio, it all comes down to how will the viewer receive this? Do we captivate them? Do we keep their attention? Do we keep this conversation engaged? Are there parts of this TV talk interview that really are unnecessary to achieve the goal of that particular segment? So keep the higher context in your mind as you're doing editing. I know we're on time constraints, but if we can throw in a cut-in that you can find that isn't, going to have us be sued, and generally anything under 6 seconds, audio or video usually is okay. Any charts or graphics that we can garner that look good, even just something that doesn't have something specific, but maybe like when someone says, in the United States, child abuse is XXX, you can throw a picture, it's called a super graphic, in the background, and then put the statistics in front, because say, I was picking my nose during the time I was talking. Don't put that on camera. If we're doing something, unprofessionally embarrassing, take it out. If we're doing something professionally silly, I think that's fun. I think it can add a more relaxed tone. And both Vivi and I, we're just, beginning at doing hosting and co-hosting, and you've seen us be as awkward as we probably have been on camera, because it's uncomfortable for us right now, and getting more comfortable. So, help us out, help us look better, but also be more real, be more relatable to the viewing audience. It all comes down to, are people going to be interested in watching this kind of like generally sometimes boring content, and surprisingly, there's a lot of people that are getting benefit from this. So,
surprisingly, that's not very positive.
No, so really where it comes down to is we are helping a lot of people. And I, as I started the project, I didn't see the scope of the reach of where this would go, but the people in this room are really responsible for shifting and altering people's lives for the better. And if we hold that, and that's really around our mission statement, we're going to get better results. We're going to help more people, and that's what we want to do.
Just this morning, Beyond My Crisis was on. It's the second time it airs. It's actually this episode. It's the second week, so it's done for live airing. It's actually my favorite episode in regards to, I don't know if you remember Vince Davis, Child Protective Services. 2 kids a day die in foster care, and most of them were wrongly put into foster care, taken from their parents without enough cause. Somebody called somebody and said some kind of claim. A lot of times it's divorce issue, but not necessarily. And this gentleman did a really great job being interviewed, and I thought it was a great show. But it'll be better when we get it to the editing. We could put some cut-ins. We could have some statistics, and like maybe we could go back to the concept of, SMC tips, BMC tips, things of that nature, because this is really important stuff. People that have their kids taken away, and it literally destroys families.
Well,
they can't work. They lose homes. They lose their jobs. In an effort to get their kids back that were taken from them wrongfully.
Right, and that's the point, is we want to get the information and the bullet points into people's minds. I think, what is it, statistically, people can only really remember like 3 or 6 things. 3 or 6 points of anything you watch, you're only going to remember 3. So when you're doing the video editing, I know you're doing the technical side, but I want you to do the side that the viewer will get the most benefit. what are the 3 to 6 most important takeaways from every video that you're editing. And I want you to kind of like think about that. And if you have any challenges with that, talk to anybody else, talk to me. I mean, I know I'm not literally sitting here, but most of the time I'm working upstairs. It's just a lot of noise and talking and stuff like that, so I'm not always down here. But you could text me, you could FaceTime me, you could email me, or Vivian, or any of us, to kind of like work through any obstacles, because I do want you to work efficiently. And then when you get like this mental block about some of the thinking stuff, we'll help.
And by the way, we are looking, now that fall's coming, this is going to be award season. One of the things we need to do is to make sure your names are on the credits for the episodes after you started. I checked when I did the paperwork last week, May 17th. So any of the episodes that were shot and aired after May, I want your names on the credits. And a lot of those will be nominated for awards.
Right, and the Vince Davis... Right, and the Vince Davis piece is what we're going to be probably submitting
definitely
first.
Amongst others.
So check out that piece when you can, and think about how to make it stellar, above anything else, because we would like that to be like a showpiece, something that will garner sponsorship and viewership and accolades.
Well, think about your
I
resume.
don't always really care about awards and this kind of stuff. It's not really part of the mission statement directly, but indirectly, it's really important, because when we can say that we're a nominee, it sounds good, but if we say we were the winner for 2017 for the JAG Awards, it just creates what's called credibility.
And look great on your resumes.
Yeah, and we have to keep thinking of how we can create credibility. Your input is invaluable. We're like a little tiny small team, and we're all wearing... You okay? Is it too hot for you? You want the air conditioning on?
Are you bored? You're not engaged.
Okay.
You were screaming blank, by the way.
Oh, it did.
It's still recording.
Yeah.
There it is. Okay.
Yeah.
So we need your help on this, on the thinking side. You guys are really like active learning how to do these things. You're learning things that we want to learn also. So I'm always open to learning it. Not like I can learn all the technical side of video editing, but the thinking side of how to create a piece and brand it and improve it and get that done. Any questions about any of this?
No, I just wanted to ask. So like obviously this is not asking you guys to directly do anything, but if you come across like interesting PSAs and stuff, like send it over to me or one of us, because we've been trying to like get these charities and companies to like go with us, but also to air them with relevant issues.
Okay.
So
Like bullying.
yeah, right now we have one. We got permission to use Bullying Through the Eyes of a Teacher, and it's a really nicely done PSA that's done with like drawing as opposed to actual filming.
Right.
Because most of the filming ones online are by middle schoolers. And
Yeah.
that's
Grab links.
Yeah.
And we should have a document in here for organized. We got to organize a lot.
Yeah.
A lot.
Do you want me to
And
just like work on that? Like just organizing the drive?
yeah, we're going to talk
Okay.
about that. But what Allison's saying is I want you to remember this, and we should create a document saying links we should see, PSAs, one for sponsors. So if you see a website that looks like they should or could be our sponsor, let us know, and we'll solicit them. We'll try to get them on board. If you see a PSA that is a model for what we should be putting on our videos, get us the link so we know.
Yeah.
I don't mind stealing other people's ideas. That's the way of
The world.
human beings.
Yep.
There's a book called Steal Like an Artist, which talks about how we really don't do anything that original. There's other people that have done every piece of art, and we just make minor changes, but it's still ideas of other human beings. So it's perfectly fine to do that. I know all the bibliographic stuff that your teachers in the past have said, you have to quote this or that and this or that. Yeah, sometimes in academia, but in real life, getting ideas from other people is definitely the shortcut to success. We are not here to reinvent and recreate the wheel. It's nonsense. some of that stuff that you learned in school. It's really nonsense. Also, when we write in media, we don't use two spaces after a period. It's one space.
Yeah.
People
And-
use two spaces.
In
Yeah.
in school,
Yeah.
they're taught
we went to
to
school.
use two spaces after a period. And it doesn't look good when you read it, especially if you do justification. It just stretches words out in weird ways. So whenever we're typing credits and things like that, use two spaces, look at it. I know you may not be, font people, typographic people, but the fonts we use and the type and the point size and the color, we're going to all need to really create something that looks more unified. So as I segue into branding, I want to talk about branding. The website that we have now, which you've all seen, is just too much information. So
Allison's been working on it extensively.
right, I know.
I just took I took most of the videos down and placed links instead to YouTube.
Okay.
That's what we
It's
wanted,
much nicer and it loads way faster.
which is
So-
important.
So as far as like branding, we are gonna have to do a full rebranding, and I'm not saying we're gonna change everything, but I went through and did a little treatment of what we need to do. Let me just zoom this in just to review. I want you to understand where we're headed for this, and we actually really would like to get an intern to help with corporate branding and collateral material. Does everyone know what that means? Collateral material is every document, every piece of graphic, every audio file that we can reuse is
Yeah.
collateral material. So our intros, our outros, our logos, our super graphics, our ghost, what do you call those little graphics at the bottom of a video? Watermarks, right?
Yeah.
We need to collect those and have a repository for them so you guys can efficiently grab it and use it and put it on, and we create a standard. I am not like a professional video editor. Again, I'm restating that, and I don't know how to create a system to make it easy for you to kind of pull graphics and know where they should be. Literally, like when corporations do treatments, they say that on a sheet of paper, the logo has to be a quarter of an inch in from the left and a quarter inch in from the bottom, or something like that. It's like we want to create, very clear standards so our videos look consistent, uniform. Our documents that we give out to people look uniform. We look like a real corporation, even though we're like, just like a...
Yeah, but the ideal is when we were talking about creating logos, and Allison just worked on one version of it. It's always going to the simplicity of, if you watch large successful shows like The View or whatever, today, Good Morning America, the Today Show, whatever, we want to emulate them. How do you get to be big and successful? Is you act like them until you do it, fake until you make it. And so the point is, when you look at any of the news shows, NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox, every single one of them, because they're affiliates throughout the country. We're used to being in the largest #1 market in the country, New York City. But we have to remember we're the anomaly, being #1. If you travel across the country, you have others. It's not all NBC4. NBC is different on different parts of the country. That's why they're affiliates. I've flown around the country, you all know that. So if you look, as an example, go to the website Stop My Crisis, and you look at my TV clip when I was a guest, just for the purpose of seeing what their logo looks like. It's always stationary for the morning news shows and the different affiliates. Their little customized logo, so it could have been Albuquerque's or Las Vegas channel, NBC, whatever. They have it customized. It looks like a watermark. I don't know if maybe that's what it's actually called, but it's always on the screen on the bottom left or right. I forgot which. It
on
is
the
a
lower
logo,
right.
but it has to be like we have to be doing the same thing. We've already been notated as an exception. We go to Ron and I, and Allison has gone to JAG meetings, and we've heard numerous times how we're just an exception to what everybody else is doing in the world of production. There's, for example, at Princeton TV alone, which I've heard is one of the top, if not #1 station in New Jersey. They believe there's over 30 or 40 producers, George says, And we do things that no one else does. I have Sharon, who also works at the station.
That we know of at this point.
That's what they tell us.
Yeah. So
And so my point is, amongst that has to be treating ourselves as the biggest players do. We need to start having a logo that is simplistic and repetitively used at the bottom of the screen as where the lower third is at all times.
right. So in this document, which is available for you guys to review also, and I'm not giving you the responsibility to do this, but your cooperation, your awareness, any participation, insight that you have is really going to help us, because I don't have every answer. I'm not a designer, and it's like I toyed with it. Allison came up with some designs. None of it is the right match yet.
Don't look at me like that. I know I would like it, but I'm not the expert.
It's-
He's the one who worked in publications
Yeah,
for years.
I worked in corporate communications and media companies in the past, but that's aside the point. I have a decent eye for fonts and that designer stuff, but not like an expert.
Now keep in mind something
So
else. I didn't have a chance to tell anyone. I guess I told Allison. But we're also looking to go to a larger scale outside of just public access in the next 12 months or sooner. What I mean by that is, how there's tiers. You have the MSNBC, CBS, Fox. You
I
have.
want to stay with this.
Okay,
We're talking
well,
about
I
corporate
mentioned
branding,
to
collaborative.
them-
They're going to go. It's almost too much information.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
We're going bigger. Scale.
Okay.
That's what I thought.
So, any ideas or thoughts, or anybody that you know that can even help us create professional branding?
Both of them.
We really
Yeah,
need
I
that.
actually
They're
made some
really-
logos.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to see them.
So I want to see them then.
Yeah, I can
I
follow
like
them.
it. See, I
Yeah.
like simplicity. I like your nasty.
What did you
Ron.
tell us? I feel like I'm in
Ron,
like School of Rock, Jack Black. That's nicer. That's a lot nicer.
Sorry.
The problem is it's SMC, PMC, so now we have two logos for each.
So-
one logo for
So
each.
I really like
Is
what
it gonna be
Sharon
the same?
in our Princeton TV studios did for our intro. So much better than what she did for the Stop My Crisis intro. So I said, okay, now we just raised the bar. So Beyond My Crisis, and I have my rock band. I'm playing bass on that intro music, which I think sounds kind of cool. It sounds nice, and we're not going to be sued.
Yes,
Yeah.
original is better.
And and I like that we can create everything here, and we're not just licensing something that someone else may license. Especially if we use the royalty-free stuff, it's going on. The green light's on. If we use the royalty-free stuff, somebody or anybody or 100 different companies can use those same graphics. If it's great graphic, let's use it. If it's so common that people say, I've seen that before, like I look at iMovie editing and I see the themes that people have reused, like that
Yeah.
news theme with that magenta color spinning
Yeah.
around. It's like, okay, it really looks overused, overdone. I don't want to look overused, overdone. I want to look fresh, but I want to look professional.
Wait,
So,
wait,
We want to create a design for a letterhead with a logo. We want to do graphic watermark for video. We want to have typographic treatments, so the point sizes for fonts and the types of fonts that we're going to use, like whether it's going to be a serif font, which is the ones with feet, or a sans serif, which is kind of smooth looking, like Helvetica. We want to be able to have a system to create. Can everyone see this from this distance? Yeah, you got great eyes.
They're young.
So let me move this here. To create custom charts and graphics, right? So how do we do that for doing our, what do you call it? Cut-ins? What else? What other terms do we use for throwing in those graphics? What's the word?
I feel like there is a word, but I don't know.
Is there a word?
Cutting graphics.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
like.
When we drop in a picture while we're doing
vectors,
the video.
like no backgrounds.
No, just like in general, like those other. What is there another word for cut-ins where you're just kind of doing an interview and you throw a chart up on the screen?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Just call it graphic.
So throw in a graphic. So we create custom charts and graphics. So how do we do that? I really like standardizing with Google Docs so we can all collaborate, because if we use Microsoft Office, it's an island and we can't see it. And if we use Office 360, I still don't like Microsoft, so I'd rather use Google.
Me either.
And I think Google has really grown a lot. I mean, ability to do editing is really pretty good. So if we can standardize and do our document creation in an organized way on Google Docs and then share it with us, you can even create it in our folder, share folder. That would be great. The ability to create corporate style treatment, which includes specification for color use, fonts, and point size. So we talked about that, right? Oops. So this will be used for a media kit, pre-sales, post-sales, email drip campaign, which is, we have an email list. What do we use for email right now?
Right now, StreamSend will do that at some point in the future.
Okay, so we use StreamSend. So I'm going to see that in a second.
Okay.
If we have a better one like Chipmunky or
MailChimp,
Constant
it's
Contact,
called MailChimp.
I'd rather use Chipmunky than
But there is
MailChimp.
no anyway.
So that's for drip campaigns, right? PR releases for BMC and SMC. And whenever we say BMC, we mean Beyond My Crisis. Internally, I think that really works for us. And we're going to talk about naming standards later. We're going to have kind of internal naming standards, and then files that go outside of our little foray. We have to kind of have something that's more sensible for the names. So SMC and sponsors, and a redesign for our website, which will fluidly integrate the SMC and BMC within one umbrella.
I think you just in terms of trying to standardize everything in terms of design, you should just figure out a color palette for Stop My Crisis and Beyond My Crisis, so that when someone goes from the website to the show,
Exactly.
yeah, that's what you should do though.
But the other thing is, if I can interject
Let's say palette.
for a second, I really think we talked about before redoing the Stop My Crisis intro. You don't like the woman.
Yeah.
We
she's
also need
weird.
to. Well, we also need to redo the music, and we should be using more of
Yeah.
Lifehouse's music too.
Yeah, that's
that.
fine. We'll
You need
we'll
to
do that.
identify Lifehouse music.
Right. So I don't want to impose upon you guys to do any of this stuff that you're not comfortable with. But if you're comfortable with it, raise your hand and speak up and say it. It's like I don't want to just suddenly discover after so many more months, like Jack Black finds the musicians in his band, that they have talent
What are you talking
or
about?
interest in other
School
areas.
of Rock.
Oh, sorry, I must be the only one who didn't see that.
You didn't see School of
That's a
Rock?
great movie.
I didn't.
That's
We've
one
had
of the
a bunch
best movies of all
13-year-olds
time.
Becoming rock stars.
Agreed.
Okay.
I didn't
Sorry.
That and The Matrix are must-sees.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I was working when you went to the Broadway show.
It's not it's a movie. It's been out for
But I was
35
working when you
years.
did that.
Okay.
I was away on
It's on
business.
Yes.
That fact not that old.
So we're going to be using this for business cards, for letterheads, envelopes, for printed and digital brochures, for printed and digital newsletters, for literature, YouTube channel, Facebook splash pages, Vimeo channel, direct mail, display, exhibition stands, graphics, signage, branded for PowerPoint, keynote presentations, video show reels, etc.
And by the way, we don't even have a BMC Facebook page yet. We have
Okay.
an SMC Facebook page now, but not a BMC
On
Facebook
a
page.
to-do list, mention that we need Facebook pages for that. That has to be done.
BMC.
So,
Not even done yet.
In this notes, Allison, let's create the bullet point things that we have to do. And if anyone wants to raise their hand to volunteer to do it, if they feel they can, throw their names in parentheses and let's throw them on these little projects. Vivian has been prioritizing everything that's been going on. And she's been doing a super great job. But we also want to get more done. I mean, I really feel like we're kind of roadblocked right now until we rebrand our whole business. We're going to move from MoPro, which we're paying too
I'm
much,
sure they're sick of
to yeah, they probably want to get rid of us. Maybe they'll give us a refund for the last 6 months and we'll just leave them.
What's that?
MoPro is the I'm sorry, the website company we've been using for the last several
And we're going to
years.
go to a WordPress platform, which I feel is going to be a lot better for SEO as well.
It is
One-time feature.
easier, way easier, and nicer themes.
And slightly more dangerous for hackers and things like that, but we got to keep our plugins updated. And so the next thing I have for you guys, if you can remember or write it or take notes or put it on this, is websites that model what we should be looking like. Okay, so if you guys are browsing the web, your thinking cap is on, And if you see a website that looks like what we should look like, type it in this document or text Vivian or myself or Allison and let us know, wow, this website looks great. Maybe we should use something. I'm not saying it has to be exact, but if the concept of it, if the flow, if the feel of it is right for our rebranding, then let's consider it.
Yeah.
I need to get a theme for WordPress now. That's like almost the next thing, but at the same time, we have to know what we want to look like. Our branding, our content, and we've seen a lot of different websites, like some of the media websites like CW, you know, that
Yeah.
TV show? They just have a lot of little thumbnails of videos. And in one way, we were told, do that, because in effect, we're not really a TV show. We're really a media company. So do we present as a media company with 2 TV shows, or do we present as a couple of TV shows? I think for the future and for our growth, we really have to become a media company and brand it as such with our 2 TV shows, Stop My Crisis and
Vanessa
Beyond
and
My
I were
Crisis.
throwing names around last week.
Okay.
We come up with some cheesy ones.
I like the cheesy ones. Listen,
The
we can have-
Crisis Chronicles.
okay. Sounds like a book.
Sounds like
Yeah.
a series.
But even
Sounds like
something,
Vampire should
even
be involved.
even something
Yes.
campy, like what's his name does the golfing thing, and he's always, you know, Adam Sandler.
Oh yeah.
What's
Uh-huh.
his media company?
I don't know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the name.
You know, whatever. But there's always silly names, fun names, campy names. You know,
There's tons of those.
so we're okay if you guys have a
Oh, Happy
Gilmore.
Happy Gilmore Productions.
with the golf because he
Yeah.
loves golf so much. So we need a media company name. We already grabbed the domain of a media company name that we kind of like, but I want to get something that we really like, that's really going to carry us forward into the future, where we don't have to keep rebranding
There's
this.
only 36 domain names, just in case.
I've just heard when you have like a website and you have content, you want the content to be as readily available as possible. So if you had it on that homepage, I think that would be the best option.
To allow a couple of videos side by side. You know, I envision like the website to be like kind of like whatever the media company is, and on each side,
Beyond
color
My Crisis,
theme, Stop My Crisis, Beyond My Crisis. And I see Stop My Crisis being kind of in the red tones, Beyond being in kind of like the blue tones. So that, 2 videos there, and then as we continue, you know, Vivian has the books that are available. We want to have a sponsorship page where our sponsors, we have a lot of sponsors that are authors that have published books or at least PDF files, and we encourage our sponsors to do that because I think it creates a takeaway for people. So we want to have a place for that. We
the
need
3rd book coming out.
we
We're
need,
working on.
yeah, that's another meeting next week. We need like an opt-in teaser. Like, why would someone give their name and email address for Beyond My Crisis, Stop My Crisis? Well, maybe if they get a PDF file, what value can we offer them immediately? So we want to do that in the
transcripts
design.
of the shows. What we need to get. How do
Also-
we get the transcripts?
Okay, so that's another long. I don't want to create a meeting out of that. I just want to highlight some of the things that we're orchestrating, thinking about, and wanting you guys to collaborate. And it may be overwhelming what I'm going through, but just what you can do. Can I see that?
Oh yeah.
What is it?
Cool.
Yeah,
Can
So
I see
show-
that?
Yeah.
What is in the
So
subject?
she has 6 different versions. One with
Money.
money, one with a broken heart, a gavel, documents, an eye on the world, and then
What's that?
drinking.
Medication.
Yeah, it's
So-
supposed to be like a pill bottle. That was. It looks like beer.
Looks like beer.
Yeah. I had to mix that.
Profit.
You could probably find like a classic style
Cool.
pill that's like
Yeah.
half one.
Or like a broken
I think if
home
you
or
have-
something.
I think what you should do
I
is have
like that concept with the little like theme. So every episode it could be different, but that's a
Yeah.
lot of work for us.
Well,
No?
if you reuse them,
Right.
'cause sometimes they have.
Well, we have a lot of court-based ones.
Yeah, they could be repeated.
I think what you should do for like, so
I'm gonna
like
go
you
through
can
that
have like
with
different
us
designs
offline.
for.
Okay.
Make
It's not just like
changes.
one logo, but it's like one logo like idea. So like Google does it really well where
Oh yeah, the
It's-
top and you just search.
well it's just like you know like their logo isn't defined by exact things. It's more of like a general idea. So maybe for the watermark on the video, it should be like more condensed because it's supposed to be tiny, but it has
something
stuff.
simple.
Yeah, something simple, and then
Graphic.
for-
It doesn't have to say our name. It
Yeah,
has to be an
like a
identical
logo or-
That's why it
corporate
should
graphic.
be letters. And by the way, I did buy
I don't know about letters.
SMCMB.
I don't know if letters
Just
are
by
the
the
best.
I think it should be
Yeah.
a picture of something that is representative as uniquely us,
Well,
that
okay.
isn't identifiable as another corporation.
Well, what is it?
We're
Well,
not
that's what you
deciding
gotta
now.
figure out.
No,
We're
I
talking
understand.
about
That's
this,
my
okay?
point. What is it?
The other thing we want to do, I got to keep moving along because this is already 12:13. Is we need a new and fresh TV show set design. I think like that bamboo thing, kind of very zen, and we have plants behind it, and the plants look like they're growing out of people's heads. And I think professionals that do set design would never have done that. And again, I'm not a professional set designer, but I surely know that we can make improvements. One with, what do you call lighting when you put it behind somebody? It's called,
backlight,
it
Hair
is
light?
back, hair lighting.
yeah,
You know,
edge light.
things that just are going to,
Well, you can also
Create a new set.
Curtain the lights. So any of the ones that are coming from like the top down, so you'll want to like darken the background so that the people in the foreground are what people are focusing on. So like right now, the shots are all like, it's like very even lighting.
which flattens it,
Which
doesn't
flattens
create
it. It doesn't
dimension.
create the depth. So you'll want to like the hair light. It'll add that like a pop to the people
Right,
that are-
and I'm not a hair light expert. I took one class in it with Vivian, and
Which makes it worse because I'm worse.
no, you were fine. But I'm trying to employ it now. I'm getting resistance from the station manager because they don't want me to touch anything in the set. So I want to create a new set design. I'd like to maybe even consider if we get a great set design that's really going to like rebrand us, make us look better, that we may not be using Princeton
See,
studios.
here's the catch. Even though we want to have all these improvements, we must still stay at a TV station, and Princeton is still the best name, but we have to make it portable. George isn't going to complain if we come in and just quickly put some backgrounds in that doesn't affect his life. But we have a lot of reasons we have to still stay at a TV station instead of being like a hip New Jersey that works out of an office space.
Right.
Because we're now, because of Princeton TV, it's a lot of notoriety. People around the world recognize the name. It's a part of JAG. It's what got us in. We still have to stay
Right.
attached to a TV station.
Because that's how we garner a significant amount of viewership,
Right.
and that's part of our uniqueness that people aren't doing. We're an independent content producer that has done things that
No one else.
no one in New Jersey at least has
And
that
we've
we've
been
ever
told.
experienced. And we spoke with like the
Numerous.
entire state of New Jersey in community TV, and we don't even want to tell them what we do and how we do it. It's everything we talk about, by the way, is confidential. We can't give away our thought process on how we build this business, but you can talk to people about different ideas if they can like make contributions. I don't expect many people to be able to reproduce this. It's a lot of work to do to get the infrastructure and get the context that we have, and putting it all together. But it's possible. There are people that can throw $1 million at an idea and pop it up and make it work. And we really don't want to have that happen. We want to stay unique, so we don't want to tell other independent producers in New Jersey how we do our business.
And
So-
to keep in mind, what we've produced, those 40 episodes between the two TV series, we've been told when we were even like 20-something episodes that we produce double the content than anyone else does. I was told that the average amount of content for any particular TV show is about 10 to 15 episodes a year. So we've more than doubled the
We're going to get through this real quick. I talk about mission statement. I wing it out of my head. I know the purpose of this for me, and I just want to get it on paper in writing that really rings true and clear, that all of us, everyone that ever works with us, for us, supports us, the sponsors, the contributors, the volunteers, everybody know that this mission statement is bigger than us and needs to be in our minds. So we need to formulate like words around what I said earlier. If you can write that, define mission statement. Press kit, I need to get a press kit together and set up a clip file for Google Alerts, so we know industry related. Allison, this is probably really good for you. A clip file using Google Alerts, so we can garner news about our company. If we're written about, we want to know if someone says anything as soon as it happens, and Google Alerts will allow us to do it, and also industry related topics that are happening. So if we're going to have a TV show, you can yawn freely. Don't struggle with
or
it.
like PSA, like stuff like that. Like you wanted to like search for that.
Yeah.
I guarantee you could like plug that into.
Right. So learn how to do clip file for Google Alerts. That would be great. This is all in branding and website design. And I've got 2 other PDF files that talk about how to do some of that stuff. If you guys are curious or interested, look at it. If you're not, don't bother. But again, any contributions that you have, any ideas you have, tell us. I'm very easy and approachable. I'm not going to bite too hard like the dog.
The one who doesn't bite just
Anyone want to say anything about corporate branding and collateral material?
I think you should just get it all. Like, obviously, just get everything on the same page. So, like, you want to know your watermarks. You want to know. One of the things that I was thinking. This kind of relates because you should probably like standardize this, but for the cameras, the color temperature for the lightings, figuring out.
I haven't
how to
figured
get
out the
proper skin
right
tones.
lighting because we kind of do more of an incandescent, like 4,000,
Yeah.
3,800 Kelvin is what I prefer. Because when I hit 5,000, I think it just looks
Yeah.
cruddy. But if you have an idea for what color temperature we should be doing, and if there's an iPhone app that I can get that can read the color temperature or check our white balance outside of their studio, I'm happy to use it. If you know of any iOS software, that would be really cool.
Okay.
Question: are you guys going to be here on Friday?
No. I might be going up.
I gotta run for a quick bathroom break because this coffee is just kind of. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourself for a second.
Okay, so you were saying, Ethan?
No. I won't be right there.
Okay. Are you 2 going to be here Friday?
I'm visiting Pratt, so I won't be here. Yeah, I have
The
to probably
college
pick a ride.
visiting.
So you never told me this is your only day.
I figured I'd go in at
I
least.
forgot it was Wednesday. I thought it was Sunday yesterday for like the entire day. So it was,
Okay.
it was-
What are your plans for next week?
Um.
As an attendee?
Well, we started school, but
That's Wednesday.
that's Wednesday. Yeah.
Can you guys give me a schedule for next week?
Yeah,
can
I
try,
don't
yeah.
have school on Thursday.
Yeah, we basically have
almost the
so-
same
Well,
Yeah.
that would be really useful.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all
Yeah.
kind
Did
of
you
have a
guys
similar
all?
schedule.
Yes, honey, I see you. The reason I'm asking is I'd like to really set up a schedule for what's being done, including filming. Allison is great, and she wrote several scripts. Okay, real quick while Ron's indisposed, is we actually had a very lengthy, a few months ago, but it takes time to get everything done, as you know, meetings with the lady who's really an expert on SEO-driven residual income, Allison Shreve, one of the guests, and she gave us an independent meeting of how we could use this for ourselves. And so, it was like a 3-hour meeting. She's in Sydney, Australia. We're Skyping her for 3 hours. And so the point is, I really would like to know, so Allison wrote these scripts a while ago. We want to put these into action. When we could do some, use your brain and all your expertise on lighting and do these videos. But we have to pick a day that you'll definitely be here. So let me know your schedule, and we could start cranking out these SEO-driven, scripted videos.
Okay.
Okay? So before you leave today, schedules.
Okay, it's just I'm not sure because my parents were like, yeah, we might be going to Boston, we might be going to Ithaca. Like, they haven't like defined it.
Can you check with them at least week by week, even if it's not permanent?
Well, I'm just talking about like next week.
Right, so they don't know yet.
No. So, but I mean, I probably won't be here on Friday, and probably not Monday, but maybe Wednesday. But I
Text your parents and like, when will you know? So what?
yeah,
I could tell.
Okay. So we're good with the corporate branding and collateral material, and then thoughts on improving our set or totally redoing our set. I just need help on that. If you know anyone that you think could contribute to us, let us know, and we're happy to talk to them if that's possible. Volunteers are great. A new intern that knows this stuff, that's studying this in depthly.
It's
And
part of
you're telling me
VPA?
you could do corporate design. That's great. I'm going to talk to you offline out of this.
Is that sort of thing part of VPA? Is set design? Visual?
It's not-
Performing arts?
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
not set design like a play. This is
Yeah.
very
No.
business looking. They have to be
Well, that's what I was asking.
tuned into like watching TV talk shows and seeing what is like that and the psychology of how viewers perceive things. So that's that. So the next thing is I am blown away and thrilled to see the production happening. With the clips here and videos being pumped out, and it's great, really great. And it's out of hand also because we're not organized that well. So I want to reorganize the Google Drive and make it really simple. And obviously, this one I would just simply create a new folder right here, and we'll call it clips, right? But this is not really where we're going to keep the clips anyway.
There's sponsor clips is what it's called.
Okay.
Not just clips, that's not what we fund.
So, and what does a clip mean? Is that the final, or is
That's-
it just?
It's the ones that I've been doing have been. It's got a shortened intro, and it's like ready for like social media, like putting.
So
Yeah.
Can that recording pick up with the air conditioning on?
yeah, but I just need to blow it up for a second. I could shut up.
Okay. Don't fall.
So social media, right? It's really like they're like
Well, it's stuff for them to use.
Right, as for our clients, part of what they pay for, as you know, is we get their segments or entire episode, like Vince got an entire episode, cut up into clips. Into 1 to 3 minutes, generally speaking, logical clips that they
yeah.
go through the entire segment or episode and decide what makes sense within the context of the soundbite topic that's being covered.
Right.
Right, guys?
Right.
So here's Artie. I'm just going to drag him right into sponsorship clips. And some people may lose access. Okay, they may. Vince Davis. All right, one
Vince
at a
Davis
time.
has clips already?
Mary McNutt, Michelle Nagel, Saskia. Any other clips I'm missing?
Elena Chapman goes up there,
Yeah.
higher up.
Liar? Okay. It has the word folder. I didn't look at that. Let's
By
just
the way,
throw
your
this up
arms
there.
completely covering the screen that should still be
Not the
recording.
camera.
No, as long as the yellow light.
I can't see because it's turned off.
I know, just thinks, I don't know why it does
It's
that.
still recording.
Oops. So we'll put this in sponsor clips. We need to have like an overview folders that are going to make sense. If you create a folder, name it with thought in it, like so we understand it.
And specify
Google-
when if somebody's been on both shows, you really need to specify. Like Elena Chapman's been on SMC and BNC, so which one? And what I always use is, just put an E for which episode.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So SMC and BMC are what we use for our internal. But if we create a video that we're going to put on the JAG server, SMC is not descriptive. No one is going to know what that is. So you have to spell out Stop My Crisis. So we're now going into, on meeting notes, file naming standards, right? Number 2, Allison, you see that? So there's nothing there.
Yeah, still have to upload.
Okay. And Vince Davis.
Yeah, please
Is,
make sure because that way, if you guys aren't here,
No,
like
that
you have schedules or you're gonna be away,
Mhm.
I can't send even if you do it. Only 1 or 2 clips. I really want to get it to people to show productivity because, as you know, some of these people came out here to do the shows 6-8 months ago, and so we're finally getting to this. I don't want to prolong it any longer than, I mean, you already have, because you did the work, it's just a matter of uploading it to the drive. So please
Oh.
upload it as you do it.
Mhm.
So I don't have to wait longer.
Okay. So this says Vince Davis Spot 2.mp4.
That's Sarah's.
I understand. So as far as naming standard, we're going to start defining this and we'll tweak it along the way. But Allison, when you look at this, what does it tell you about what this is? Does it make sense to you? It says Spot 2.
Yes.
So where's Spot 1 on this? Right? What's the date? Is this from 2016, 2017? So I think temporally we need to at least put a year, because things are going to age out year after year, and a sponsor may come in and do a new clip. Maybe something changes. So I think we need to name it in some way, something like a standard, like Spot 2 is not descriptive enough for me.
Could
Like-
you not put something like just reference the episode instead, so it's just like, you know,
Spot is a commercial though.
yeah, no, but connected to like 3 point whatever, like whatever, what is he?
Okay.
10.17.
Oh yeah, like adding that in the title.
So that's a
Wait.
that's
So
sort
what
of
show is it from? Right. So that's a
Yeah,
great idea.
Wow, time flies.
So I like that idea. So if we can reference the show number and year, I think that's perfect. And then it's going to be C1, C2. We don't need the word clip, maybe, or maybe we should, just so.
Clip's only 4
okay.
letters. It's
All right, keep it clip.
Because clip and spot are two completely different things.
Right. So clip obviously is 6 to maybe 2 minutes max, right? Okay. When we put this on Google Drive, it doesn't degrade the video quality, as you guys all know, right? Because we're not doing it with the low res upload.
Yeah, well, these are the .mov files, but the ones that Sarah had, the one that Sarah had was an MP4.
Right. So we'll
Yeah.
and is there any restriction on using an MOV file anywhere on the internet? Does Vimeo not like it? Does
No,
YouTube not like it?
it's-
Does any?
happened where I couldn't get them onto YouTube. I had to put them through.
A converter?
Yeah, I had to convert it for some reason.
Okay.
YouTube gets .mov files.
So I'm fine standardizing on MOV, one because it's going to give us a smaller file size and keep the quality up. Both use H.264, but I want to know if there's any obstacles with using .mov. I haven't talked about conversion. I don't know if we need to address it. I think we're cool with file formats, but there's a lot of different conversion tools out there, including the video editing software can do some level of conversion. So I don't think we need to even talk about that. But this is really cool. This is 110 megabytes, 148. This is going to add up and ultimately completely fill Google Drive. It's not my vision for what I really wanted the Google Drive to be, because I think we only get 15 gigabytes of storage space, and we have 6 out of 15. And at our level,
we have two
2
gigabytes.
2 gigabytes we used out of 15.
Yeah, so we have some time to worry about it.
It's going to run out as we really ramp up and start doing this.
Which
this
is why I think
productivity.
once you get the clips, so these clips can be given to Mary McNutt, and then maybe back them up and then take them off the drive, right?
Right. So these at this point are somewhat temporary, but Flickr I think will give us a terabyte of free.
Yeah, but Flickr is, when I've looked, I Google us individually
Flickr,
occasionally.
we can make
And
it private.
I see, what's that?
We can make it private.
You can?
Yes.
Because when I see Googled you, your Flickr stuff comes up. That's
Not much. I got like 10,000 photos on Flickr. You don't see 10,000 photos.
yeah, but it shouldn't come up at all. Because
My
it's
entire
private.
phone gets bad. No, I have some things that are public. I put the dishes that I wanted to sell up on public site,
Okay.
public part of Flickr. Flickr's hard to use, and what you bring up a point in that if we do use one of these other media sites, we really have to be careful who has access.
Right.
You
That's
know,
what I mean.
We have to restricted to private. With Google Drive, it's even confusing because when you share it, and are you all familiar with how shares work with Google Drive?
Yeah.
Like you add an email address,
Yeah.
and then that person now has either complete access, editable access, which means they could,
Do whatever.
do damage,
You can change it to can view.
and you could do can view, but there's also an option to let, and it's very easy to switch it to anyone that has this link can view it. We don't want to do that unless we specifically know we need to do this for some temporary period of time. So I really don't want to see that everyone can access if they have the link on this stuff. I just don't see how it would be helpful for us. There's also a make it public button. So when you do shares, or if we need to with a client, if we ask you to do it, just be conscious of that little thing. So ultimately, I got to find another repository where we can cloud these files and just keep them there. I think Flickr will work. And has anyone used Flickr?
Yeah.
Yeah. You have any thoughts on why we shouldn't use it?
I only used it for like 100 pictures, so I don't really have that much experience.
All right. I back up my entire iPhone photo snapshots up on this. So when I'm on my Wi-Fi network and I remember to run the app, it starts synchronizing. So and it's really pretty cool, actually. So FLI. So that's that. I don't know. Where do I go here? Something. And they changed this stuff too, so I don't even know. Maybe that's it. Okay, so this is camera roll, basically. And then I tap this and I start syncing. Another 6,000 photos have to be synced. That's what's left, because I didn't run this in a few weeks or so. So it takes a long time to sync it, but at least it gets done. And then I have, my camera roll, which is on and 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 on, and no one has access to that. Okay, unless I say public. See, this one
I didn't
says.
look that carefully. I
this one
just saw
says public.
Flickr came up.
So this is what's public.
What is that?
My friend's band and a bunch of dishes that I was going to sell. I don't even know where they are right now. This is like a couple of years ago. I owned an apartment building, so I was doing photos for that. My friend's band. That's all it's there. That's all it's there in public. Okay, just to quell your concerns. Any system has to have a way of, managing access control list or permissions. So as far as naming standards, we have to name it sensibly. They can't be super too long. And this Google Drive, if you put up our 28-minute videos up on here, you're going to take away all our space. We're not going to be able to do this. Any clients that need to preview our videos, the show, we can throw up on our YouTube channel as a private link. And anyone that has that link can view it. On YouTube, it recompresses, lowers the quality. Never use any material unless you have no other way to find it from YouTube. All our videos get backed up on this thing called Crisis Master, right? Which is this drive right here. Okay? So YouTube compression is as good as it's ever been. It used to be really terrible. And Vimeo, they keep wanting to charge for it, and apparently they don't recompress like that.
Yeah.
But if there's another repository that any of you guys know from the school or class, you can ask your teacher or kind of collectively figure out where we can safely and securely put up videos that don't recompress. That would be really cool.
Well, Dropbox, but you have to.
I can't stand Dropbox.
Yeah, no, it's really annoying.
As far as any of our meetings, I never, at this point, unless they revamp Dropbox, Dropbox is a horrible way to save files. It winds up, there's something called deduping, and Dropbox wants everyone that's a collaborator to be able to store the same files on their Dropbox, and then everyone runs out of space and they want money.
Yeah.
And it's like predatory in my view. So Dropbox stinks. If we have an alternative to Dropbox, that would be great. In a way, we're going to have to pay for this. If we have to pay a little bit of money, to have it. We have to. I mean, many companies do. Again, running on fumes is like, can we do this cost effectively and for free? And we have. We just kind of like have done it. And I think a lot of other companies are kind of silly. They're wasting a lot of money. I don't want to waste money, but that doesn't mean I don't want to. That doesn't mean I won't spend money. I think if we have a great solution that costs a reasonable amount of money, that's going to improve our efficiency and our time, let's spend the money. Because the most valuable commodity we all have is our time. I mean, with this 6 people at this meeting, 1 hour in a meeting is 6 hours, right? And we're going on 2 hours, so this costs us 12 hours of time. So it gets really expensive. I want to save our time, which is why we're doing this, so we can run more efficiently.
Right. The reason I was asking about their availability for the next time you're all going to be here is I think we're throwing too much information at once. I think we should save the other half for our next meeting.
Let me just wrap up this Crisis Master thing. This again is only available on the Mac right now, and I want to put it on our network, PicMe, right? We see our Wi-Fi network. You'll be able to pull off clips from your PC, but a 2.5 gigabyte clip can take. Remember we did that? We started doing that.
Oh yeah, it just took a lot of time.
It's hugely long amount of time. So I'm going to set it up where I'm going to have an Ethernet cable running off. If I can set something up like a router like this, when you want to copy a clip off of our network, if you're using a PC, you cable in with an everyone have Ethernet ports on their PCs?
Yeah.
The Macs don't now. You need an adapter, and I have an adapter if you need it. I could leave it somewhere.
After it. Oh my.
Yeah. So this has to be fixed up. We got 3 terabytes available on this drive. So
Can I suggest meeting is still going. Can you listen now? Question mark.
Do you guys need to take a bathroom break? Because I did.
No.
No. Okay.
Great. I left the door open so the air conditioning from around can come. Dog is generating a lot of heat in this room.
Let's playing the dog. One little
That's so
dog.
cute.
Yeah.
What is it? Yeah, I
I know you don't like it, but I like it. And I'll
Just-
fight for it anyway.
I just believe simplicity is the key.
So this is the drive. Again, any material we're doing video editing with, we don't pull off YouTube, we don't pull off Vimeo unless we decide this is collectively okay and there's no other place for it. We get it off of this drive. Basically, when I go to the studio, I take this blue drive with me and I copy the files directly and then I back it up onto here. So if we see BMC SMC 731, we have, can everyone see this?
Yeah.
We have the original RAW files, and I call them RAW now. I think that's a good name to use, and I give it the date, and each clip has a number. So, on the Macintosh, it's really easy to rename. So I just kind of hold it down, and I right-click and say rename. And I give it the name, and then I, sequence it like that. So that's how I come up with this. If this name is confusing for anybody, then let me know. But when you get this, I think if you do start working with it, I think what really would be helpful would be to also put the guest's name in here. So maybe add, after Princeton TV, put the guest name. That's features here. It'll allow us to find it. Then also I use the Sony camera, which is somewhere right in that bag, to shoot. So we have photos too. If you go through a photo, I hate to give you the responsibility, but if the photo is horrifically horrible, like blurry, or a thumb is in front of it, just delete it. We don't need it anymore. Use some of your discretion. I don't want to keep having to go through these same files and waste our time. Again, time is our most valuable commodity. If you can use your discretion, and the camera automatically does a clip of what it thinks is the person's face. I don't like this photo, I would delete it. I would delete this too. This is not good, right? So Command delete, and it's gone. So you're going to see gaps in these number sequencing, and that's because it was so crappy, I just got rid of it, right? That makes sense. And sometimes I don't resequence. So, you could pick off the photos that you think are good. Before anything ever goes live, I definitely want to review, or Vivian wants to review it. Of course, you know that. So I got a photo folder. I have the raw files. You started doing the editing, remember, on this one, right? So I think that was right. And did we get? And I think, yeah. So this was the iMovie project. So this we copied back into the Crisis Master, right? So then, if anyone else needs to work on this, this is the latest version. So you pull it down onto your computer in the folder that it needs to be, or maybe there's another way to just say, use this folder and point to it, and then edit, and then copy it back. I know it takes time, but again, I think either with the Macs, plug in directly with the PCs, I'll figure out a way to share it on PicMe, and you cable into an access point. And if you have a 10 gigabyte, 1 gig connection, it's going to go very fast, versus the Wi-Fi. We have something called 5G here. If you do have to do something over the internet with Wi-Fi and you need a lot of data moves, pick the 5G. And if you don't have full bars, every 1 bar lower is half the bandwidth. So if you're really needing to do Wi-Fi, go down on the first floor. The Wi-Fi router is by the Sony television in the living room. The closer you are to that, the closer chance you're going to get all 4, or whatever your PC says, 5 bars. Again, 1 bar low, half the bandwidth. Another bar lower, half again. So, but if you lose 2 bars, you're at a quarter of the bandwidth. It's pretty significant. I'm going to see if I could set this thing up to act as a repeater here, so we'll get better signal strength, and then I'll plug in a switch that we can cable in. It may take a little time. It's another project to do. So, and then we have this final here, which is right now an MP4 file, and we're going to restandardize and make it .mov files. And I think that was right.
See, you have to redo this
Why?
for SMC. Using the music, and obviously different song, but like
Oh
this.
yeah, we don't have a new intro yet.
We need to start on that. And by the way, the music.
So
reason
1
it's
second,
such
I want you to
a
hear
done
this for a
stuff.
second. I just stop talking for 1 second. Every time we do it, which you guys know, the music keeps trailing in after the video's gone.
They're in all one picture.
You hear?
Yeah, it's still in the
And
background.
and I ramped down the audio so you could hear the talking uninterrupted, but it kind of trails into it. So every time we're using collateral material, we're going to use the video, but that audio is going to be on a separate track. So if you grab a clip and just cut it right when the video ends, you're losing the last 3 or 4 seconds of the audio. We don't want to lose that. Same thing for the outro. The audio is going to start picking up the last couple of seconds. Also, let me move off of this. Anytime we do a website from now on, it's www.initialcase.
Okay.
Less than 1% of 1% of every website on the internet today makes a case-sensitive URL. Almost everyone is case-insensitive. That's for email addresses and for URLs. So for all of our email addresses, anytime you're writing an email address, Stop My Crisis standard is now initial cap for every word. Initial cap for every word allows it to be more readable. When we think about this, it's like, what's important for, this is a paying client right now. What's important for him is that he gets people to see this long enough where they can maybe write down something, take a notation, have it frequently enough. This has to be on long enough for people to kind of like absorb the information. This is a lot of information to read, and it's important information. I like it. And then later on in the video, and I don't know when, okay, so then I create another one, which is just the website, which is how he garners his business. And that's the big one. And then underneath, it's Vince Davis, trial attorney. Because this is actually more important at a moment for people to know where do they go to get Vince Davis. And they could look up Vince Davis, trial attorney, and probably find it. But this is the shortcut for them. Give our viewers an easy way to access our sponsors, right? And this we do several times over, right? Now, do I love these titles? I think they're okay. Bless you. But again, we want to figure out what font is going to be best for us. We want to start grabbing a watermark to throw in there when we create one eventually. And let's just look at this.
We settled the case for almost $1 million. It was $999,000.
What's a lower number? What's a number that is that typical or?
It's typical when the social worker we can show that there's wrongdoing.
Okay.
Can you just provide us with 3 easy tips?
Okay,
as
so
well as
I'm going to pause this for a second. The show is called Beyond My Crisis with Ron and Vivian, but Vivian is here and Ron is here,
So it
so
makes sense. for
Vivian needs to be here and Ron has to be here, right? So, when you see this, make sense of it. Spelling, critical marks have to be spot on, not one mistake. Any mistake here, if there's 2 spaces before this ampersand, it makes us look sloppy. It makes us look unprofessional. I'm not saying anyone did it, but I just want you to be impeccable with the titling. Impeccable, because honestly, when we view it, sometimes we're so busy we may not watch the whole thing entirely and stay focused on that.
And I also think from going forward, it shouldn't be co-assist hosts. Because if you look at other shows, I don't think they specify co-hosts.
Okay.
It's just hosts.
Okay, that's fine. And if we have other ideas to improve it, we should. Do I love this? I don't know if I do. I don't know if I don't. I'd like to see options, how to rebrand us and make this better. We talked about color palettes. So when we decide on a color palette that we're going to use, I would say let's get that white to be, something in the realm of the color palette, and black type.
I mean, will
It's-
we be going with the title page, like blue and green?
Maybe, but it
Well,
has to
maybe
look
we change the
cool.
color palette,
Yeah, it has to be a hue within the color palette that gives enough contrast for people to easily and
Yeah.
effortlessly read the title, even if they're this far away, even if they're close up. If they're looking at a little tiny picture in their YouTube video, they can still read these titles. So we have to kind of have that balance. And black is kind of not what designers use. They do a shade of black. It could be 90% black, or maybe have a little color tone inside of it that's so subtle, that's so almost imperceptible. It creates the flair of we have this design down. We really designed this specifically, and some people recognize it, other people don't, but it's unconsciously received.
do in the process of regaining their children if they've already lost them?
And now we did this final one, which is good, right? Uppercase for the URL, everything's spelled right. Is it a hyphen? Vince Davis space ESQ dot, because he's an Esquire, comma, trial attorney, in my view, is how the titling should have been. But it's done deal. Is it a big deal? Not a huge big deal.
It
But
can still be changed.
but it's not worth our time right now. I don't think it's worth our time. I think if Vince Davis is okay with it, I think it's fine. But I think in the future, if someone has a doctorate or they have a title in their name, we keep the title in their name, right? So Dr. So-and-so, keep the doctor. Esquire is not a doctor, but they get an ESQ dot in there. Okay?
Well, what's really important for his video is we need to find a way to redo my intro when I made a mistake and said babies. We can't have
Oh,
that
yes.
standing
Okay.
indefinitely.
Oh.
We have to find a way to redo
Right.
that.
I'll talk about that in 1 second. That's a good point. But let me just finish this up. I just want to get the outro, and then we'll talk about that.
Seriously, because these social workers don't have guns and badges. It is serious.
Now, he's soft. That stupid camera is soft. And whoever set it up did not focus precisely. I don't know if there's any way to kind of sharpen this and maybe keep the background blurry, it looks very flat here. And you talked about how flat it looks. Partially why it's flat is because it's it's not in focus. This whole thing is like a little bit out of focus, soft, and it's also recorded 1080i. So it's not necessary for us to, at this point, and hopefully that will change, to save as 1080p. It will double this file size.
Well, even if you do it in 1080p, you're getting a higher quality video, even if you were recording in 1080i. So like when you're sending out the video, it'll still be a higher quality video, even if you downscale it. It's like shooting in 4K and then exporting in 1080. Like it's still going to be better than a 1080 camera.
Our titles are going to be sharper, but our video is not going to be really any better, and the file size is going to be double the size. I think at this point, let's save it as 720p. You want to show me what 720p and 1080p look like? I really would like to see it and see if I could see a difference, and then I'll make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
If you could get me two comparatives.
Well, I'm just talking about like if you shoot it in the 1080p instead of 1080i, and then export it, you could stay in 720p. It'll still be a better 720p.
Oh, sure, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't have control over their
Oh, you don't?
SSD.
Okay.
I've asked him multiple times. He doesn't seem to even understand what I'm saying. I mean, he knows what 1080p is. He knows what 1080i is. But he doesn't think it's he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Ultimately, the stuff that gets thrown up on what do you call it? This cable network. They sent it on standard definition. This goes out at 720 pixels, which is not 720p. It's standard res.
Yeah.
So everything is dumbed down to standard res. But the fact that they broadcast in a higher res on the website, he just doesn't care. That's the point. It's like it's not important for him. So let's not double our file size until we start recording at 1080p. When you open up a file, you can get info on that file in any of the video editing programs and see the resolution. So just check the resolution. See if it's 720p or 1080i, save it as 720p. If it's 1080p, do the 1080p. And then I just want you to see the outro.
For a long period of time, if not forever. Number two, don't talk to the social worker. I know you think that you're going to be able to talk your way out of this.
Also, I never like centering when I do my switching and camera thing. He should be here, not here. This is it's like really almost unprofessional. He should be in this part. He's on this side of the interview, we're on that side of the interview. So you have the ability to recrop. If it doesn't destroy the quality, can we kind of shift him a little bit?
Well, you're already at 720p, so I don't know.
Yeah. And the lighting is dull, although maybe it's because of this.
Who have lost your children, please follow Vince's advice. Contact him. He can help you in any state. Your
And I should be looking at the
children
camera,
are
right?
worth it. Don't give up.
Okay.
You look
So-
really depressed. Like, oh my God, this
Okay,
is horrible.
so-
Well, it is.
So I want you to listen before we wrap up. I just want you
That's
to
too close.
just listen. Don't talk for 1
Any
second.
state. Your children are worth it. Don't give up hope. Fight. It is definitely
Do
worth
the
it.
music. So the music starts. The titling starts. I don't like the why going on it. I just couldn't figure out another way to do it. Is this the best titling?
You spelled my name wrong.
Did I?
Put one L.
Is it 2 L's?
It's 2 L's.
You put one
You're
L,
one of
Ron.
those, Al?
Okay. So let's. You know what?
Actually, my email address is almost exactly.
Let's
the
fix
other
it.
Allison Marano. She's a politician.
Yeah. How
So
did I get
sometimes
one?
get
Okay.
things we're supposed to say.
That's my bad. Well, Vivian proved it. But, you know.
Hey,
Vivian.
So
don't blame me. You did that.
so anyway, that's the gist.
I caught it
And
immediately.
and we just caught another error.
Mm.
So we're always in error catching mode. The whole file is here. So if you copy this to your computer in your iMovie folder, you can do that edit, or someone can do that edit. Fix her titling. I don't know what we can do to make that better, but we need to make that whole credit thing better.
Well, we were doing very rushed doing this titles because
Yeah.
we had to get it over to George to air quickly.
Right.
So what I think we should do is to have also Anna and Ethan on there as well, because even if they didn't work on that particular video,
Well, do you guys
They're
want to be
on the
on that?
team.
Is there any concern that underage or anything like that, your parents are okay with you getting credit on this stuff? You still have a document to sign. I'll get you a document to sign. I have it like these parental consent forms that I never really quite finished, but you know, hopefully it's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Dog, you know you take up space.
If there's any time that you think you shouldn't be on something, you got to let us know.
Okay.
Or if you want to be on something, let us know. You
This
almost
dog
got the
takes
dog
up a lot of
spread.
space, okay? I can't get her through her. She's not like
Okay,
sits
So-
strategically.
Vivian, is this a priority? And if it is, who can do the re-edit? Fix Allison's name.
I can't do it, so I don't know. Who can do the changing and the
He's got a
title?
Mac.
He's got what?
Or Allison, if you want. Or who wants to do that?
Who wants to
Fix.
take the changes in the titling?
I don't care what I do.
Okay.
He's so flexible, I don't
Yeah.
care.
So we'll uncable out of this computer, and then you'll plug it into yours, and you'll copy it over like that, right?
Okay.
So-
Does anyone have any questions about hard drive use? You know, when you plug a hard drive in or a thumb drive, when you're done with it, always eject.
Yep.
Never pull the cable out until
You're staring
you
at
eject.
me because I did that.
I didn't say
We've
you
all
did
done
it.
it at least once.
Everyone has done it. Relax. So we really don't want to have data loss or data errors, and I don't have like multiple. But that's the only backup I have of this, iMovie project. So always eject gracefully. If you can't, I know you got to force it, but before you force it, shut down your computer, and that'll allow you to uncable it or quit the applications because they often lock files like Word. All of the Office suite does this annoying lock file. Even after you close the file, sometimes it's still locked until you quit the app. iMovie or Final Cut or Premiere may do the same kind of thing until you quit. I've got to reorganize these and put them in better places, but I also would like your input. I want you guys to be able to find files here and have things in reasonable shape. So if you have confusion, talk to me about the confusion, because that's the best way for me to know how we can make the change. So if you can't find something, you find it challenging, let me know. Like the Lifehouse music right now is 3 songs are commingled into single files, okay, and they were never broken out. So they really should be cut up and split. If someone can do that at some point into 3 different songs, that would be helpful.
Well, we also need one of the Lifehouse songs for Stopping Crisis.
Right.
We really need to redo that.
I know, but in the scope of this meeting, we talked about redoing it, and whoever can help get people, I think we said everything we have to say.
Okay, so you guys got here at 11 instead of 10. What time are you leaving?
We can leave it 2. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. What time is it now?
1.
Right, so you have 1 hour.
Any other questions about everything that I just talked about? Is it overwhelming? Yet? It is for me,
Life
actually.
is overwhelming.
Right? And Vivian's going to spearhead time priorities for getting things
I'm
done.
asking for schedules.
Okay. Vanessa, I hope you get some value out of this video. Thank you.
And Sarah.
And Sarah, of course. Yes. Hold on.
Both Sarah. and-
Okay. Wave goodbye to everybody.